This week on Christian World News.
We're going to fight to whatever way we can fight to make sure that every single kid we know gets an opportunity.
A few years ago, they didn't know the language. Now they're computer experts. The unique program that turned refugees into college students.
Plus, in India, a Christian ministry is forced to close its doors, putting more than 100,000 children at risk. Why is this happening, and what can be done to help?
And pro-lifers under attack in France. The new measure that targets freedom of speech. Why speaking against abortion could soon be illegal. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Christian World News. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. During the Obama administration, many Christians saw their freedom to practice their religion trampled. Some suffered fines and even prison for their stand. Exit polls show evangelicals who voted for President Trump see protecting those freedoms as a high priority. CBN's Jenna Browder takes a closer look at why some want it addressed.
We have new information in the story of a Gresham bakery that became the center of a nationwide controversy over gay rights.
Religious freedom, a highly contentious issue, gaining traction with several high-profile cases playing out in the news. And one that's especially significant to Christians. How important is it that President Trump signed an executive order about religious freedom?
What we've seen in the last 8 years through the policies of the Obama administration is really this idea that religious expression is bad in public, and the policies have kind of quarantined faith within the walls of our churches.
Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council, has advised members of the Trump administration on the topic and now wants the president to act.
The executive order would simply state that, you don't have to leave your faith at home. You don't have to leave it within the four walls of the church. You can actually live your life accordingly.
In other words, freedom of religion would apply for those who work in all areas of life, including business and the government. A draft version of the order floated several weeks ago and drew strong criticism from LGBT groups and some liberals. It covers a wide range of issues like protections for people who support traditional marriage. Another example, religious and other groups would not have to provide health insurance that covers birth control or abortion. The order could also protect the tax-exempt status of faith groups that speak out on politics. How confident are you that this will happen, and do you have any kind of idea when it might happen?
I don't have any idea as to when. I think it probably will be sooner rather than later, but I do think this administration will address the issue. I do believe that the Trump administration, the president himself, understands the need, and I'm optimistic they're going to address it.
And what about people like Aaron and Melissa Klein, the Oregon couple fined for refusing to make a cake for a gay wedding?
It's not that they did not want to provide services to someone that was gay or lesbian. It's that they didn't want to be forced into providing their creative services for a wedding. They've sold to customers, just as florists like Barronelle Stutzman, great lady who served everyone who came through the door, but did not want to use her gifts, her creative gifts, to be a part of something that from a Christian standpoint is sacred, marriage.
Perkins is pushing for that executive order, but also hopes Congress passes a bill that ensures more permanent protection for all people of faith. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Thanks, Jenna. Human rights lawyer and activist Amal Clooney, who is married to George Clooney, by the way, is calling on the United Nations to protect genocide victims in Iraq. Speaking at the UN on Thursday, she warned that the situation risks becoming another Rwanda unless member states take action against ISIS.
Mass graves in Iraq lie unprotected and unexhumed. Witnesses are fleeing, and not one ISIS militant has faced trial for international crimes anywhere in the world. So I am speaking to you, the Iraqi government, and to you, UN member states, when I ask, why? Why is it that nothing has been done?
And that is an important question. The US and the European Union have recognized that ISIS is committing genocide against Christians and Yazidis in Iraq. The United Nations still has not done so.
Here in the U.S., there's been a huge debate over admitting refugees into the country. This week, President Trump signed a new executive order to replace the controversial one he released a few weeks back. One big difference, the new special order does not give special preference to Christians and other religious minorities. However, the government can grant waivers if being denied status as a refugee would cause some undue hardship, like, for instance, Christians and others facing genocide at the hands of ISIS.
For decades here in the United States, refugees have found a home. Now, a new generation is thriving here. My colleague Abigail Robertson shows us how one group of refugees has created a pathway out of poverty.
Starting school in a new city can be daunting, especially when it's halfway around the world from home.
When I came here, everybody was different, treated me different. I felt like an outcast.
At 7 years old, Louisa Irankunda and her family fled war in Africa and resettled in Des Moines, Iowa.
I didn't really know what America was, but all I heard was that it was wonderful and that money grew out of the trees.
Louisa couldn't speak English and struggled to fit in.
It was very tough, and they were bullying me because when I came here, I didn't really have hair, because they said that we should shave it off.
Nancy Marazzi, an African native living in Des Moines, noticed how the refugees struggled, particularly the young girls.
I realized we really needed to start a unique program to just reach out to the girls and know that we are here for them.
Starting a dance class, she quickly noticed an improvement in attitude.
I started working with refugee students, and I realized that we actually have a great opportunity to impact low-income students.
Following that success, she looked for bigger ways to empower kids. And that's when God put coding on her heart.
So here I was with this ambitious dream of teaching kids how to program computers, and we had no place. And God's been good, because you know when He gives you a task, you know what He does? He gives you the things to complete them.
She found a church to host the class and a volunteer in computer science to teach the program she named Pi 515, Pursuit of Innovation.
We're trying to see how do we teach them the skills so that we don't have this number of kids in poverty growing. When you're poor, chances are if you don't get an opportunity, you're just going to recycle that back. And what happens to those kids?
Open to both girls and guys, each student comes from a war-torn African country. 10 years ago, some of these kids couldn't even speak English, but now thanks to the Pi 515 program, these 15, 16, and 17-year-olds are learning to build robots and design their own websites. Hosting a year-round free technology program like this doesn't come easy. They rely on donations for everything, from computers to teachers to the unexpected. And through it all, Nancy's faith stands strong.
I believe that God, when He shows you a need, He wants you to do something about it. He says, you know, go take care of that for me, and as long as you take care of it for me, I'll be right there standing with you. We're gonna fight to whatever way we can fight to make sure that every single kid we know gets an opportunity.
The fight is paying off with many students who never thought they'd go past high school, getting college scholarships.
In a couple of years, I envisioned myself getting the degree in computer science, and I'm just fascinated. I want to learn how computers work, and also through that, I would like to pretty much come up with things which can help other people.
Iowa State offered Bonito a full ride, becoming the first in his family to attend a 4-year college.
I never imagined that, but here I am today.
And he's hardly the only success story.
I have learned how to code, I've learned how to use CSS and HTML, and I have built a website so far. I know God will always be here with me, by my side, and He will always take care of everything, of my needs.
Louisa is only 15, but her current skill set could earn her a salary of $50,000 or higher. Thanks to the Pi 515 program, many children who once felt like outcasts who couldn't communicate with their peers now have promising futures ahead of them. Reporting from Iowa, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Thanks, Abigail. Coming up, we go to India, where a ministry that serves more than 100,000 children is being forced to close. Who will help these needy kids?
Years ago, my father had a great revelation. If Jesus was God, then everything he said was a law of the universe.
And it applies to everybody. It applies to Christians. It applies to non-Christians.
These spiritual laws were the foundation of his best-selling book, The Secret Kingdom.
In Pat Robertson's The Secret Kingdom, you'll learn how God's kingdom works, the principles that produce exceptional growth and development, the keys that build success in finances, health, relationships, and much more.
We have compiled those teachings on this DVD for you, as well as my teaching called The Law of Expectation, which was inspired by the laws of the Secret Kingdom.
What you expect the future to be, you can cause it to be just merely by the fact that you believe it.
Now for the first time in one DVD, The Secret Kingdom and the Law of Expectation.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
The Christian ministry Compassion International will close its doors in India after decades of service. The U.S.-based charity, which focused on caring for India's poorest children, is leaving behind 48 years of ministry there. Compassion exhausted every effort to stay after the Indian government denied the group the ability to transfer funds into that country. The move will leave more than 145,000 Indian children without aid. But the ministry says it will pour its resources into local churches to bring some help to those children.
So what's going on here? Earlier, CBN's Heather Sells spoke with Becca Bishop of Compassion International about this devastating development and how the ministry will continue to try and help India's most vulnerable children.
You have more than 100 staff workers in India serving 147,000 children living in poverty there. And now the Indian government says that you must leave. Why is the government telling you to get out?
Well, it's a complicated issue, but to put it simply, in 2011, the Indian government made changes to its Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, which is a law that regulates the receipt of foreign funds into the country, and particularly those of NGOs like Compassion. Now, those changes allowed the Indian government to restrict NGOs with purposes that differed from their own political ideology. We believe that the Indian government wants to limit the expansion of Christianity in India, and we further believe that it misunderstands Compassion's program model, which they believe that, or assume, that our sole intent is to convert children to Christianity when our primary goal is to rescue children from extreme poverty.
And that's a really interesting difference. Has the Indian government said that to you, that they believe that your main purpose is conversion?
No, we have read that in the Indian media, just like you have. But they have given us no formal reason for restricting our funding.
You have, of course, been providing for these children at your center. Tell us what you have been providing for them up till now.
Yeah. The children in our care receive medical attention, medical care, education, books for school, clothing, food, vocational training, among many other things.
And what do you anticipate will happen to these children now? There are the churches in place to work with them, but these churches, of course, will not have the funding that you've been able to provide.
Yeah, I can't really speak into that because we don't know what will happen to these children. Obviously, we hope to watch every child that we've cared for grow up to become fulfilled, responsible, and successful adults. And so we do know that the remaining 1.8 million children in our care throughout the 25 countries where we continue to work will, our support for them will not change. And we just continue to pray for the children in India and continue to pray for those government officials and for the government of India that they will see the care that we have lavished upon their children, and that we will one day be able to return and continue caring for their children.
Up next, speaking the truth may soon get you arrested if you're pro-life and living in France. Exposing the potential fallout from a new law when we come back.
These are principles for the whole world, just like the law of gravity. And so also with the principles of the kingdom of God. The kingdom has everything we want. It has healing, financial blessing, marital bliss, success in what we do, and more than anything, it has access to God Himself. How do we get there?
Get The Secret Kingdom and the Law of Expectation, available now.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
And welcome back to the broadcast. The French pro-life movement is on the verge of being silenced by a new law.
It would make most criticism of abortion illegal. Dale Hurd brings us the story from Paris.
The French pro-life movement faces being crippled by a proposed law that would criminalize any website that tries to persuade a woman not to have an abortion. Anyone convicted under the so-called crime of digital interference law could get 2 years in prison and a $31,000 fine. While it's passed the Senate and National Assembly, it's not law yet. It's being reviewed by France's highest legal body, the Constitutional Council. This isn't the United States, where the pro-life movement is a major political force. If passed, as many expect, the law will make an already weak anti-abortion movement in France even weaker. The government says it's trying to stop fake news about abortion. Pro-life leaders call it censorship of their views, and they feel like their movement is being strangled.
This law has the risk of suffocating the pro-life movement.
Jean-Marie Lomenet is president of the Jérôme Lejeune Foundation, one of France's leading pro-life organizations.
This new law is extremely dangerous because it limits the freedom of expression. First, it means that the government is deciding what is right and what is wrong, what we can tell about abortion and not.
The law targets words and messages that might deter, dissuade, or hinder women from having an abortion.
This law goes pretty far. Since the mere fact of saying the truth could discourage a woman from having an abortion, showing what abortion is technically a deterrent.
American pro-life websites like these would be illegal under the new French law, as would these web pages shown to us on the Jérôme Lejeune Foundation's own website. Opponents of the proposed law appealed to France's Constitutional Council because the law would restrict freedom of speech. While that argument would probably work in the United States, it may not work in France, where pro-life forces lost the abortion debate long ago. France legalized abortion in 1975 and is today one of the most pro-abortion nations in Europe, with more than 2/3 saying in one poll that a woman should be able to have an abortion whenever she wants. Journalist Anne-Elizabeth Moutet says the pro-life movement is seen by the government as denying women the human right to abortion.
The view of the French is that as long as women are entitled to have abortions, you cannot actively have propaganda that will prevent them from making an informed choice about exercising that right. That's the way the French law goes.
In France, 96% of Down syndrome babies are aborted. Last year, the French government banned this ad showing smiling, happy Down syndrome children. Lemonet says the government sees abortion as social progress, along with euthanasia, gay rights, and same-sex marriage. The French haven't gone along with all of it. 4 million marched against gay marriage and gay adoption before losing the battle. France is still a majority Catholic country, even if most people don't attend church regularly. But there has not been the same outrage over this law, and passage could come soon, making it even harder to protect the unborn in France.
The few constraints that were shaping the law on abortion are now void. This means that organizations such as Planned Parenthood, which is publicly funded, and the government have the monopoly on telling the truth, but are in fact telling lies about abortion.
Dale Hurd, CBN News, Paris.
Thanks, Dale. We bring you these stories to mobilize prayer. So please tell your friends and family what's happening in France. You can simply go to our Christian World News webpage at cbnnews.com and share this story on Facebook and Twitter. We will be back right after this.
Kids. We want them to grow up knowing God's Word. But in today's busy world, sometimes we could use some help. The free Superbook Kids Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos,
Follow me.
discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available on iTunes and the Google Play Store.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Finally today, Asian cuisine is one of the fastest growing foods in the world today. In less than 20 years, Asian restaurants have multiplied Nearly sixfold, George.
Yeah, but it takes more than just fancy cooking. CBN News reporter Meng Fei Li introduces us to the owner of one popular Chinese restaurant chain who gives Jesus credit for his business success.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning and the day has already started at Peter Chang's. The kitchen is full of vegetables and energy. From Washington, D.C. to Maryland and Virginia, Zhang Pengliang, also known as Peter Chang, has made a name for himself. However, he says when he first moved to the United States, he was just a small fish in a big pond.
When I came to the U.S. in 2001, I was so young. I had many dreams, such as opening up my own restaurant. I was so jealous of others, but I knew all I could do was to be patient and learn from others.
Hardworking, Chang constantly practiced his skills and learned from leading chefs in the field. He loved cooking.
I always look for chances to become better in cooking. This is all I know. In order to make a living and improve my life in the United States, I needed to push myself harder. That's the Chinese spirit.
For Chang, cooking is an art form. In 2011, he successfully opened up his first restaurant. He named it Peter Chang. And the quality of food and service are the core of his business. Meanwhile, he constantly creates new authentic Chinese dishes to attract more customers. Peter Chang's business was so popular, even a former Chinese president paid a visit to his restaurant. In 2016, he was nominated for the James Beard Foundation Best Chef Award. Today, Chang has more than 10 restaurants where customers are offered more than just food.
I have been a chef for 30 years. I want to introduce Chinese culture too. Food is the best way to do so. When people come to my restaurant, I want them to feel welcomed. They are like my family members, and I hope they appreciate our efforts.
Peter Chang today is a very successful restaurant business owner. Also, he is a man of faith. When asked about his faith journey, he is very grateful about what the Bible and the church have taught him.
I am always touched by what the church taught me, especially on gratefulness. I am still learning and searching by reading the Bible. The words of Jesus guide my life. As a sinner, I need to obey and be humble.
Chang tries to teach his employees the same principle. The scriptures are very important to him.
Chang is such a good man. He is very honest and patient in teaching us many useful things. He never allows us to forget the importance of being grateful. I love to work with him.
Peter Chang is in the process of opening up more restaurants in other states. First is New York. He wants more and more Americans to fall in love with Chinese food and Chinese culture. More importantly, he believes the Lord will continue to guide him to greater success. Meng Fei Li, CBN News.
Well, on that yummy note...
Are you starving now?
Yeah, totally.
You haven't eaten today.
Oh my gosh, I hope you didn't hear all the rumblings in my tum-tum.
There's nothing better than fantastic Chinese food.
It is, absolutely. Yum, really good. Well, folks, that is it for this week's edition of Christian World News. Go out and get some good Chinese food.
Amen. Well, until next week, from all of us here at Christian World News, have a great week. Goodbye. And as always, God bless you.